If you struggle with feeling man enough, then this is a series for you. We're going to be reading about the story of David. I'm going to start off about halfway through 1 Samuel, starting at when David is first anointed king. Finally, the Lord said to Samuel, "You have mourned long enough for Saul. I have rejected him as king of Israel. Now fill your horn with olive oil and go to Bethlehem. Find a man named Jesse who lives there, for I have selected one of his sons to be my new king." But Samuel asked, "How can I do that? If Saul hears about it, he will kill me." "Take a heifer with you," the Lord replied, "and say that you have come." A heifer is a cow. "And say that you have come to make a sacrifice to the Lord. Invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you which of his sons to anoint for me." So Samuel did as the Lord instructed him. When he arrived in Bethlehem, the leaders of the town became afraid. "What's wrong?" they asked. "Do you come in peace?" "Yes," Samuel replied. "I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Purify yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice." Then Samuel performed the purification rite for Jesse and his sons and invited them too. When they arrived, Samuel took one look at Eliab, and thought, "Surely this is the Lord's anointed." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't make decisions the way you do. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at a person's thoughts and intentions." Then Jesse told his son, Abinadab, to step forward and walk in front of Samuel. But Samuel said, "This is not the one the Lord has chosen." Next, Jesse summoned Shammah. But Samuel said, "Neither is this the one the Lord has chosen." In the same way, all 7 of Jesse's sons were presented to Samuel. But Samuel said to Jesse, "The Lord has not chosen any of these." Then Samuel asked, "Are these all the sons you have?" "There is still the youngest," Jesse replied, "but he's out in the fields watching the sheep." "Send for him at once," Samuel said. "We will not sit down to eat until he arrives." So Jesse sent for him. He was ruddy and handsome, with pleasant eyes, and the Lord said, "This is the one. Anoint him." So, as David stood there among his brothers, Samuel took the olive oil he had brought and poured it on David's head, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him from that day on. Then Samuel returned to Ramah. God often chooses the people we least expect to do the most amazing things. David is somewhat in the Bible that when we think of manliness, David is often the first name that pops up, right? He was a strong man. We know that he was a king. He fought and won many, many, many battles. He was a very, very capable person, right? And so when we think of manliness, it's almost subconscious that we sort of tend to picture David as this big, strong, you know, intimidating looking person. But we can read from right here in Samuel 16 that he was thought so little of compared to his other brothers that they didn't even bring him in. He was the least among them in people's eyes, right? He was the one that was least likely to go out and do something amazing. He was the one that was least likely to be king. And God chose him, and he had a shepherd's heart, right? David was out tending the sheep and taking care of the sheep. He didn't even know any of this was going on. Continuing on. Now the Spirit of the Lord had left Saul, and the Lord sent a tormenting spirit that filled him with depression and fear. Some of Saul's servants suggested a remedy. "It is clear that a spirit from God is tormenting you," they said. "Let us find a good musician to play the harp for you. Whenever the tormenting spirit is bothering you, the harp music will quiet you, and you will soon be well again." "All right," Saul said, "find me someone who plays well and brings him here." One of the servants said to Saul, "The son of Jesse is a talented harp player. Not only that, he is brave and strong and has good judgment. He is also a fine-looking young man, and the Lord is with him." So Saul sent messengers to Jesse to say, "Send me your son David, the shepherd." Jesse responded by sending David to Saul, along with a young goat and a donkey loaded down with food and wine. So David went to Saul and served him. Saul liked David very much, and David became one of Saul's armor-bearers. Then Saul sent word to Jesse, asking, "Please let David join my staff, for I am very pleased with him." And whenever the tormenting spirit from God troubled Saul, David would play the harp. Then Saul would feel better, and the tormenting spirit would go away. David was a harp-playing young man, probably smaller than the rest of his brothers. Um, and he ended up becoming, synonymous with manliness, right? A man is not defined by his bank account. A man is not defined by his arms. A man is not defined by power or control, or how loud his voice is, or how many people are willing to do what he says, having authority. A man is not defined by those things. There's a verse in the Bible, I don't remember it word for word, but in essence it says, "And men, be courageous, and let all you do be done in love." I think it's either be courageous or be strong and courageous, one of those two. Let all you do be done in love. Well, what is love defined as in the Bible? We know that love is defined as patient. So a man is to be patient. We know that love is defined as kind. A man is to be kind. Doesn't mean barking orders meanly and angrily, and doesn't mean that. A man is to be kind. A man is not to be proud or jealous or boastful or rude. A man is not to be irritable and to keep no record of being wronged. A man is not to demand his own way. A man does not rejoice with injustice, but rejoices with the truth. A man is to never give up, never lose faith, to always be hopeful, and to endure through every circumstance. That's what it's asking us to be, right? And this idea that as a man you're defined by power, that you're defined by your bank account, that you're defined by um, the fancy car you drive, or how you know how intimidating you look. That's not manliness. That's not biblical masculinity. And so the story of David has always impacted me a lot, because I have always sort of been a bit of a sensitive, more artsy guy. I play piano. I not super muscular. I do want to work out, and eventually I'm going to start working with a trainer soon. But I've struggled feeling man enough my entire life. Man, I'm poor. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a fancy car. I feel like I'm not man enough. A lot of people, there have been people that have seen me that way, thought of me. Um, you face it a little bit in the relationship field, where a lot of people want someone who makes them feel like he has power over them, and that's not me. I don't want to have a bunch of power over someone. Um, that's not me, and that doesn't have to be me, and that's okay. The Bible instructs husbands to submit to their wives, and wives to submit to their husbands, yes, but it also says husbands submit to your wives. Being a sensitive man is not a bad thing. Crying is not a bad thing. And just reading this first section, if you feel like you're not man enough, if you feel like you're not strong, the Bible says that the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord that is my strength, not the size of my bicep, not the cost of my car, not the size of my house, not whatever other thing that we often associate, right? Joy of the Lord in my heart, the love of God, patience and kindness. Talk about humility. Then we are to be humble, right? We're to be humble. And here's this harp playing young shepherd running out in meadows, and yet he cares and loves his sheep so much that he, you know, um, talks about how he clubbed bears. When he goes to step up to fight Goliath. I've killed lions, and um, you know, basically telling Goliath, "What are you compared to that?" I've done this before, and he wasn't, even though other people looked at him and thought of him as weak, thought of him as incapable, thought of him as, oh, there goes David. He's doing something stupid. He's going to go fight a trained professional warrior. He's shepherd kid, Jesse's kid, you know. And but there he goes. I come at you in the name of the Lord Most High. Swings that, and then, Lord throws the stone. And a simple skill, a simple thing, a small rock is enough to fell a giant, right? In the hands of the Lord. And I just want to focus on that. So many people looked at David and thought he was the least expected of greatness among all of them. And I wonder if David ever struggled with that, if he ever struggled with feeling like he was man enough. His brothers, his family, thought so little of him, they didn't even invite him to the table when a prophet came to their house ready to anoint a king. Because they thought that little of him, that he was capable of such a thing. No one saw kingship in him. No one saw greatness in him, right? There he was, shepherd playing a harp out in out in the meadow, watching sheep. A job that probably didn't pay a whole lot, probably was not, synonymous with respect. God chose him. God often chooses the people we least expect. So if you felt like man, no matter what you do, you're not man enough. If you've tried to fill that void with other things, whatever you can, I hope that you set that down today. For me, as an artsy guy, there was a period where I went through of trying to be man enough by trying to be a professional piano player or a professional artist or a professional musician. It manifests in everyone differently, right? As men, we need to feel like a man. And I think sometimes in the striving of that, in the striving to find that place of inner acceptance that I am a man, I know I'm a man, you know, I'll prove it. You don't think I'm a man? I'll prove it. I'm going to go out and I'm going to be a professional musician. I'm going to have crowds and adoring me. Or I'm going to go out and I'm going to be super strong and I'm going to have the biggest biceps and I'm going to look like a man. Or I'm going to have a lot of money. I'm going to have a fancy car. I'm going to have a big house. I'm a man, But I want to share a story about the strongest man I've ever known. The strongest man I've ever known couldn't go to the bathroom without help. The strongest man I've ever known was named Freddie Wendland. He was my grandfather, and though he is no longer, he is with the Lord today, he taught me so much about what it means to be a man. During COVID, he lost his wife, and he began developing severe dementia. He could not remember the names of his own kids. And I remember every time he saw me, he would always smile and ask how I'm doing. Every time he was given food, he would always say thank you, or he was always saying please and thank you, and he was always smiling. He had the biggest and brightest smile when he'd ask how you're doing. And he loved God, and he loved Jesus. And I remember one day staying with my aunt and my uncle, and I look over and I see him, his son, my uncle, having to help him use the bathroom on his own. And that impacted me a lot. Because I could not imagine being in that same situation. That same night, we all gathered around his bed and we began singing Amazing Grace. And even when he struggled to remember the names of his own children, he still remembered the words to Amazing Grace. Fred was a man's man. He couldn't walk easily without help. He couldn't even use the bathroom on his own. But he was the strongest man I've ever known because he endured to the end and never let his heart grow bitter. I remember one day sitting out on the porch with him. He's on a rocking chair, I'm on a rocking chair, we're sitting there, and he turns over to me. Out of the blue, he says, I'm going home soon. About 3 or 4 months after that, he passed away. He didn't have, a big fancy car. He could barely use the restroom on his own. But Fred was a man's man. And this cultural idea that manliness is about power, that's an idea that I hope you find freedom from. Because it's untrue. Being a man is not about money or power or wealth or fame. Being a man is about saying please and thank you. It's about being humble, about being kind, about being respectful and loving your neighbor. That's a man's man. Someone who's kind and loving and patient and not proud or jealous or boastful or rude, never demands his own way. He's not irritable and doesn't keep record of wrong and shame people for their mistakes. And that's a man's man, right? And so I hope this helps. If you're struggling, feeling like you're not man enough, I hope this hits an area in your heart that helps you just feel a little bit more at ease. In the next episode on this topic on man enough, I'm going to share my dad's story and how he gave up a life in. He gave up his ambition to be a man who sits on the floor and plays with toy action figures with his son. That's a man's man. Wasn't, him, you know, having a path forward to coach and lead an entire Olympic ice rink or to have his name on a newspaper. Being his son, what made him a man's man to me was him sitting on the floor with me, right, when I was a kid, spending time with me. He gave up everything to spend time with his son and to be a present father in the home. I really want to talk about that. Thank you for your time, and I hope this encouraged you a little bit. God bless you, and have a wonderful day.